Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Here again with another episode of Netflix's The Kingdom. Last episode we left the young prince, Prince Chang, I believe his name is, left Prince Chang and his guard fleeing the palace, or rather attempting to find out the truth about what happened to the king. Luckily that they left the time that they actually did, since the head of the palace advisor and also head of the Cho clan has issued a warrant for his arrest and branded him a traitor for treasonous acts against the king, who we know is deceased, but for the unknown public, they believe the king is very much alive and ill, and in their eyes, the prince is attempting to usurp power for himself, right? We got to learn a bit more about how the virus has begun to spread. The doctor who was at the palace attempting to treat the king has now returned to his clinic after his aide got attacked by whatever was in the palace. We still haven't gotten a look as to what it is that attacked him, but from some of the glimpses that we've seen, the silhouette when the prince visited the palace, it's safe to say that it is in fact the king who has now become undead, right? And that outbreak has now reached the clinic, where one of the patients, for some odd reason, decided to use one of the body of the aide that came back with the doctor to feed the people that were there, and them not knowing what exactly they were eating, ate him, and now they've begun to turn, right? So far, the assumption is that everyone inside the clinic has now turned, with the exception of Sunbei's character, I haven't learned her name as yet, and the very guy who actually fed them the food to begin with. So the prince is on his way there, at the very least. So he's caught in between. He's on his way to what he doesn't know is an outbreak, and the king's guards are just behind him, and they've been, I believe they were given orders, if they weren't able to capture him, they could actually kill him. So he's caught between both sides, and we're still not sure what exactly is going to happen there. Is he going to get there in time to maybe save the two that are still alive at the clinic, because they are trapped inside a room, not sure how they're going to be getting out. And for the most part, they haven't shown the doctor, actually, now that I think of it. So he may very well still be alive, because he is the proof that they need that something has happened to the king. Otherwise, it's just his word and against the advisors, and it's not looking like he has a lot of sway in the palace at the moment, right? The queen seems to be the person who's in charge now, and it'll just be her word against his, and it's a pregnant queen and a king who could potentially lose his right to the throne. So odds are people would be in her favor and not so much his. So season 1, episode 2. All right, let's check it out. His guard, sorry.
그렇구나. 그러니까요. 그러니까 나 혼자 살자고 한 것이 아니다. 좀 못할 것이다.
Makes a good point.
그러니까요. 그러니까 왜 그러셨냐고요.
어허,
더럽게나요. 어디서 그런 이상한 말씀을 배우셔가지고.
어디서 배웠겠느냐? 내 주변에
하나를 가르치시면 열을 아십니다.
어허, 이놈이 말을 받아주니 끄다. 기분 풀거라.
위험합니다. 제 옆에서 떨어지지 마십시오. 저 옆에 떨어집니까? 기부터 시작했습니까?
Did they manage to kill them all?
당겨!
한양의 높은 무관께서 여기까지 무슨 일로 오신
I
겁니까?
don't know we are there.
겉은 멀쩡해 보이도 상태가 꽤 좋지 않네. 내 아우는 급히
여기 도착하셨을 때 다른 수상한 사람 보지 못하셨습니까?
각 건물 대청 마루 밑에 숨겨놓은 시신들을 모두 찾았습니다. 모두 48구입니다.
How they're able to kill the zombies in this world?
사람이 죽으란 법은 저 상궁의 말이 사실이라면 강령전의 괴사 이 사실을 파헤치면 해원 살 길이 열린다는 말입니다.
People of the country have been living like.
누구십니까? 듣자니 자네가 그 지유라네. 아니 잘 우리 다른 일로 찾아온 거지.
전 그곳에 약재만 됐을 뿐 아무것도 모릅니다.
얘도 배우지 못한 것이냐?
Still has that attitude.
또 못 드셨는데 우리라도 떠다 드려야 할 거 아닙니까?
Not the right approach, man. Not the right approach.
모양이지. 자네가 이해하고 뭐 아는 게 있으면 얘기 좀 해주게.
못 뵌 지 몇 달이 넘었습니다.
어딜 도망가느냐?
시간이 없어.
아니요.
아닙니다. 모든 게 사실입니다.
아까 그 얘기 무엇이냐?
스승님께서 한양에서 생사초로 죽은 사람 살렸다 하셨습니다. 살아났습니다. 어서 가서 막아야만 합니다.
그 죽었다 살아났다.
To what he saw at the palace.
맞습니다. 위원님의 병상일지가 있습니다. 거기에 모든 것이 적혀 있습니다. 생사초 그 풀을 찾으시오. 시간이 없습니다. 해가 지기 전에 가서 더 큰 기사를 막아야만 합니다.
진위를 확인하거라.
아니 되옵니다. 어찌 미친 개짓 말을 듣고 혼자서.
중요한 일이다.
Alright, so okay, so he's going to. Someone's there.
시끄럽구만 저거.
움직였다.
Okay, I haven't been back at the palace in a while. Locked him in. Now he knows to aim for them. Hopefully for his sake, there aren't any more of them hiding around the clinic. Although I can't blame him for just running. They're kind of... Can they swim, I wonder? So, Kingdom Season 1, Episode 2. Absolutely love the episode. A lot has happened, but not happened at the very same time. We started off the episode with a few days having passed. When we got to the clinic, a lot seems to have happened. Initially, it was a bit, was a bit confused about what happened there because yeah, they did explain that later on that they decided to go the route where the undead are actually they actually hibernate during the day, and then they're reanimated at night. And so the nurse and what we know is some army veteran, they seem to have survived the initial attack, and I guess when the bodies became unresponsive, they tied them up, because when they were pulling the bodies out from underneath the floors, they were bound together, and I don't think obviously they didn't do it to themselves. So I suspect when they went into hibernation, they tied them up, and I don't know if they were the ones that placed it. I'm assuming they pushed them under the floors. Not sure why, to keep them hidden maybe, I don't know. But so they attempted to keep them contained there. I mean, I did wonder why they didn't notify the officials, the government officials, but given their response to hearing it, I guess normally one would consider it an absurd story. Someone comes to you in our time now, where we are aware of all these fantastical creatures and things existing in our world. But back then, I imagine that someone came up to you and said, "Hey, these people are dead, but somehow not dead," and yeah, it would be ridiculous. So it's an unexpected response, although the magistrate officials do appear to be a bit incompetent. So it's one of those situations where they just, okay, let's put this guy here and have him do absolutely nothing for the people. So he's just a figurehead, obviously, and he said it's his first time on the job, and he's clearly more concerned about himself than anyone else. The prince finally knows the truth about what happened to his father. I mean, I know he has probably suspected for some time now what happened, since he came across the strange figure at the palace, and the stench and everything that he described coming from the body. And at that moment, when at speaking with the nurse, I'm sure he realized that, okay, that may have been his father. So he now knows the truth. The downside being that his word is not enough. So he does need the journal, the physician's journal, as proof to take back to the palace. And I'm not quite sure he actually got it, because during the whole ordeal with the palace guards, in the fight there, he rushed out at the last minute. I don't think he picked up the diary. If he didn't, he's going to have to go back there for it. But understandably, freaked out. He freaked out and ran because of what was happening. And I'm sure we would have all done the very same thing. So, so he may not have the journal quite yet. The outbreak has officially started now, or at least it has now begun to spread. I don't believe everyone would have managed to escape the magistrate's court, but when the prince arrived there, it seemed the magistrate, the entire place was ablaze, which means that some time has passed since we saw that scene with everyone scattering. So the question is, who exactly has survived? And well, it's still night time, so they're still very much active. So I just hope he's not foolish enough to go there just yet. We took a trip back to the palace, or well, took a trip even further back, since it was a flashback to the past, to when the king initially passed, and we saw where the king's advisor brought in the physician to take a look to confirm that the king is dead. I don't know why you'd need confirmation. The king's physician said that he's dead. Obviously, he's dead. But they brought him in, and the leader of the whole clan, he made it clear that, okay, the king is not dead. So that was essentially telling the physician that, okay, if you leave this palace and you say anything to anyone else, yeah, you'd more than likely be branded a traitor and you will die. All right. So and charged with treason. So he told him to do what he did 3 years ago, which suggests that this has actually happened before. And this guy, whoever, I really need to learn his name. I know he's the head of the whole clan, but I don't know his name. He clearly knows more than he's letting on, because if this did happen before, then he does know that there's a possibility of there being an outbreak. But he chose to go that route anyway, just to usurp power from the throne himself. So it has happened before. I'm really interested to see. I don't know if they'll do a flashback later on, but I would like to see what actually happened in the past and how they were able to contain it. Right, it was one of the situations where there was an outbreak and they just wiped everyone out, and then they just didn't tell the public, right? Because everyone who was at the magistrate's court, they had a natural reaction as one would when you see a body come back to life. So it didn't appear as though it's something that they had heard about before or something that they might have experienced before. So for the general public, this is the first time and this is their first reaction to it, right? So clearly there's a lot more going on than that he was willing to, that he has more than he had actually revealed initially. He knew what he was doing when he called for that specific physician, and he knew what the outcome would be. And he may very well use this as an opportunity to get rid of the prince, and he could just say there was an outbreak and they had to cleanse that area and get rid of everyone. And so the prince really does, things are just not going very well for him right now. But he still has his guard. He still has, even if he doesn't have the diary, he still has the nurse, assuming that he can find her. He still has the nurse who's a witness to everything that happened, and a number of people at the magistrate's court, assuming that any of them survived, as witnesses as well. And I mean, he has at this point at least learned how to kill them. I mean, it was an accident. He was rushing to the door and he came at him from behind and he swung his sword and decapitated him. But in doing that, he realized that, okay, he's no longer getting back up, so he now knows how to kill them. Right, so he has that going for him at least, but he's not in the best position right now in terms of getting back his seat on the throne. So there's a lot happening there. So I love the episode. The zombies themselves, they chose to go a bit of a different direction than what we're accustomed to. Obviously, most zombie adaptations that we have seen so far, the one in most recent memory for everyone would be Walking Dead, of course, where they are very slow moving, and here they chose to go a different route, which I absolutely love, similar to the zombies from Train to Busan or World War Z, where they actually run. So we don't have characters tripping on imaginary objects or tripping on air and getting caught or something. So these zombies actually move. The part where they hibernate is an interesting choice. I mean, I don't think it's something that I've personally ever seen before, done on screen. Where, I mean, obviously we've seen it with other creatures like vampires and other night creatures, where they at night they're active, but in the day they're in a slumber. Right. So we've seen it in other creatures, but this is the first time I've actually seen it done for zombies, and it's an interesting take. I don't mind that they've taken some liberties there, because I mean, a lot of what we do know now about these creatures have evolved over time, and all of the weaknesses that they have now, they didn't have back then. So it has evolved as the story has evolved and changed. So that's perfectly fine. So it's an interesting take. I do like where the writer is going with the story. I love that we're not losing. I mean, there's an outbreak happening, yes, but we're not losing sight of the bigger picture, which is still the coup that the prince attempted and what is happening at the palace. That's still very much ingrained in the storyline, and so I love that portion of it. It's not just survival; but then what happens next, right? So that element of it is absolutely brilliant. So I'm really interested to see where this story will end. I believe this has maybe 7 or 8 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. And correct me if I'm wrong. And that's the other thing. I love that they're keeping the story contained, and not to repeat the same mistakes that series like Walking Dead have done, where the writers are asked to produce a ridiculously large number of episodes, and they end up having to stretch the story, or there are slow episodes where absolutely nothing happens, and some storylines become irrelevant, and you lose sight of what the core focus of the series ought to be. when you're being asked to produce 20 episodes or more. So that never bodes well for series. I'm glad to see Netflix has adopted that model to keep the episodes contained, so that every single episode is interesting. Every single episode is exciting. Something is always happening in every single episode, and there are no pacing. There are no pacing issues. At least none that I can see so far. Right. So absolutely love that. Be sure to post down in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts about the episode are, and what you're excited to see most for the remainder of the season. Right. If you like what you've seen here, be sure to hit like or subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.